Hey folks, welcome back to another video of the Flutter Development course brought to you by Newton School. My name is Harsh and I am going to be your instructor for this Flutter Development course. I am currently working as a Flutter developer at Ällihoop, Sweden, and I have been an ex-Flutter developer at AppScript and at Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology as well. I am also an educator on Udemy and Unacademy where my Flutter Development courses have more than 40,000 plus enrollments already, so you can check them out as well. Now talking about what Newton School is. So basically Newton School is a platform that helps you to learn and develop the skills that you need for your best tech career. Newton School first trains you for 6 months and helps you become a full stack developer. The courses which they are having are specifically designed for freshers, working professionals and for women with no prior experience in tech. It is also having a network of more than 300 plus great companies who hire directly from Newton School. So they also ensure you that you are placed with one of the best companies in the country. They are also having a pay after placement program where you don't have to pay anything to Newton School until and unless you are placed with a minimum CTC of 5 lakh rupees per annum. And they are also having another awesome initiative known as Launchpad where you will also be getting some of the courses for free of cost, and you can work on those courses, learn the courses, and you can also get a certificate of completion after completing those courses. Now talking about what will be covered in this video. So in this video I am going to cover about the database thing. So we'll be working on a SQLite kind of database. Here in Flutter we are calling that as SQFLite because like there is a package available with that name. So I'll be using SQFLite in the further videos whenever I'll be referring to a SQLite database. And in this video I'll be telling you how you can set up that database and how you can make this initial functions or the initial things which are required for the database to work. So we'll be working on that part as well. So let's move directly to the video. So herein you can see over here that I have opened the app which we have worked on in the previous video. So in the previous video I have shown you how you can implement or create a project related to a news app and how you can fetch various different news from the news API which I have shown you and display all those details to the user. And I have also shown you about an implementation through which you can add various different categories inside that app through which the user will be able to only get the projects which are related to that particular category. So I have shown you that particular thing as well. So in this video we are going to work on the implementation of databases inside our Flutter application. So I'll be showing you that thing. So let's start working on it. So at first what I need to do is I need to clean up the project a bit because I have added various different things previously in this project as well. So I'll be deleting all the files which are not necessary for this project. And here are we with the main.dart file only. And I will also be deleting the packages which I won't be needing for this project. And apart from that I'll be adding two different packages which are needed for this project. The first one is the path provider and the second one is the SQFLite package. So in Flutter we don't have this SQLite package like SQLite package. We don't have that. In place of that we are having SQFLite package, which is basically the implementation of SQL database in Flutter using the this package particularly. So I'll open Google and we'll type SQFLite Flutter, going under the dependency installing and pasting it over here, doing similar thing with path provider as well. So copying that and pasting it over here, hitting Ctrl S will be fetching this for us. And once it is fetched we can start working on the main.dart file of our project and start implementing the things inside the project. So until it is being fetched, let me add a stateless widget over here. So the reason for me adding a stateless widget rather than a stateful widget is because in this project we'll be having various different buttons. So we don't need any stateful widget or we don't need any database to be displayed to the user or to be updated to the user dynamically. So that's why I'm adding a stateless widget over here. If you are displaying the data to the user as well, then you can prefer using a stateful widget. The name of it will be homepage as we have already added the homepage here. And now I'll be adding the various different components which we need inside this project. So I'll start by replacing this container with a scaffold at first, and this will be having an app bar, and this app bar will be having a title which takes a text, saying SQFLite implementation, and I can add some styles, but I am not adding them for now. Moving directly towards the body part, which will be having a column with the main axis alignment set to main axis alignment dot center, and I can add some children's inside it, starting with an elevated button. And this elevated button takes an on pressed. So for this we'll be creating a function later on. So I'll be adding that over here, and for the child I can add a text over here, and this text will be saying insert. So basically this particular button will be for inserting the data to the database. We'll be having a fixed data which we'll be inserting in the database for this example. And let me add some styles to this text as well. So style takes a text style, and color of this would be colors.red, and I need to add this as well. So let me add inserting, as we'll be creating the function with the name of inserting only. And now I'll be copying this elevated button and will be pasting it 3 more times, and I'll be replacing the on pressed and the text for each of them and the color as well. So the second one will be there for querying, so which means that we'll be querying the database whatever it is present in the we'll be querying the data whatever it is present in the database, and we'll be displaying that thing in the debug console as a print statement. And for the text I have added a query over here, and I'll change its color to green. Next we'll be having an updating. So this will be triggering a function which will be there to update the database in the to update the data which is present in the database. And this insert will also be changed to update. The color of it would be white, the text which is present, so that would be having the color as white. And at last we'll be having the deleting function, which will be deleting a particular row or particular what we can say the data with the particular ID. So we can delete that, and it will be having the text as delete and the color as yellow. Now we need to create each of these functions, but before creating each of these functions we need to create a database helper class as well. This database helper class is basically a class which will be responsible for creation of the database, assigning the version to the database, creating the table whatever we want, and also we can add the column ID or column name, whatever the columns we want to have inside our database. So with the help of this database helper class only we perform all of these operations generally. So I'll be creating a new file under the lib directory with the name of database helper dot. And if you are like following a particular Flutter architecture which I have shown you in the previous videos, so if you are following that, then I would suggest you to add this database helper dot file under the database or the folder where you are having various different database models or the operations related to the database are being performed. So you can add those things over there. And now let's start working on it. So I'll be first creating a class with the name of database helper, and inside this class I'll be having a static final variable, as the name of the database won't be changing. So I'll be naming it as my database dot db. Similarly, I'll be creating 2 more what we can say variables, or 2 more these values as well. So pasting it 2 more times. And herein I need to assign the db version, so underscore db version, and this would be equal to 1, and it will be of a type integer rather than being a string. And this will be the name of the table, so it will be having the name as my table, and I'll be changing the name of the variable as well. So db name would be equal to would be replaced with underscore table name. And the reason why I am creating the underscore variables is because these will be private variable and will be accessed by this particular database helper class only. So that's why I have created them to be private ones. So I would also suggest you, if you are creating those, then make sure to have them as private. Next, creating another variable with the name of column ID, and that is a static final 2, because we won't be changing this column ID later on in the project. we will be changing the values of this column ID, but yeah, we won't be changing this particular variable or the name of this variable. Next, creating the column name. So static final column name, and it would be equal to name only. Next, we need to create a private constructor. So we'll be making the constructor private only, and this will be responsible for making only one instance for our full app. So that's why we need to create a private constructor as well. So database helper dot underscore private constructor, and creating a instance for this database helper class through which we'll be accessing or through which we'll be performing various different operations. So static final database helper instance, and that would be assigned to the database helper.private constructor class. So we'll be performing all the operations with the help of this private constructor which we have created. Next, I need to create a variable with the type of database, and name of it would be underscore database, and this could be null, so adding a question mark. And I need to import, I guess. It is showing me an error, undefined class database. Try changing the name. I guess I need to import some variables at first. So let me try and importing the things which will be needed. So import SQFLite no, it is not showing. Dart.io is also not showing over here, and I don't know why it is not showing. No import is working for me. Let me just copy the things, the imports which I'll be needing. So at first I'll be needing a Dart.io. Next I'll be needing a SQFLite database. So underscore SQFLite dot. I guess it hasn't added the things. I can try running the code as well. So Flutter. So as the Flutter pub get command was running, so herein you can see that the import for SQFLite has been worked successfully, and the error for this database is also removed. And if I am not making it as null, then we'll be provided with an error. So that's why I've added a question mark, which means that the database could be null at initial phases of the app, unless we are adding some database, some data to the database. Next, we need to create the we need to get the database and check if the database value is equals to null or not. So if the database value would be null, then we'll be creating or we'll be initializing a new database. And in case the value of the database is not null, then in that particular case, we'll be getting the previous build database or previous available database, and we'll be adding the data to that only rather than creating a new one. So for that, I need to add a future database and get the database. So get function, it will be of a type async. Typo again. And inside it, we'll be checking underscore database should not equal to null. If this is the case, return underscore database, else assign the value of underscore database to await underscore initialize database, which will be a function used for creating the database, and I'll be creating that in a few minutes. And this will be returning underscore database. Now it has removed the error because we haven't added a null label over here. And now we need to create this underscore initialize database as well. Database it needs to be. And I guess the video has already became a bit long, but let's try and work on the things quickly. So now creating the underscore initialize database. So it will also be of a type async. And first of all, we need to fetch the directory. So we'll be getting the application directory, the application document directory. So, and we'll be assigning that into a variable with the name of directory, having a return type of directory as well. And await get application document directory, and we are getting this with the help of path provider over here. So that has been imported automatically. And once we have got the directory, we can print the directory, or we can like directly join the database to that directory. So I'll be joining that thing over here. So string path and join directory dot path and underscore db name. So this will be joining that directory which is available, or which we have got for this particular app, and it will be joining that particular thing to the database which we have created, so that the database could be available in that particular file, which in that particular folder which is like assigned to our project. So that's why we have done so. And this join is providing me with an error. I guess I need to import the path.dart file as well. And now the error has gone away. And once the particular database has been joined and the database has been added to the particular document directory, then we can return the database by opening it. So await open database, and this will be opening the database for us for performing all the operations. So through this open database only, we'll be performing all the operations which are there in our database, or which are necessary to update the data in the database. And inside this open database, this is a function which is provided to us from SQFLite.dart, and it takes the path of the database. Here you can see the path we have created, the version of the database for which we have assigned a value variable with the name of underscore db version, the on create of the database, so which will be for creating the database. So underscore on create, and we'll be creating this on create function as well. And this will be opening the database for us, and we can then perform various different operations according to our need on the database. Now let me create the underscore on create function, which takes a database at first, name of which is db, and it takes the version it needs to be, and it will be performing the SQL query for creating the database. So db dot execute, it will be executing the query on the database. And I have added the 3 codes over here, and let me add this as well. And now I can add the SQL query which we add in MySQL, or which we run in SQL databases to create the database and to create the tables. So I need to create a table with the name of underscore with the name of dollar underscore table name, and inside this table I want the column ID to be equal to the column ID which variable which I have created. It should be of a type integer, and this should be the primary key for our this particular database. Next, I need to create another variable with the name or with the value of column name, and this will be of a type text, and this should not be equal to null, and integer, and I guess this is fine, and the bracket is closing over here and these are closing over here. So now what it will be doing is, herein, as I have shown you, that at first it will be checking if the database is not equals to null. If this is the case, which means database is already available, else we need to create a new database by running the initialize database function. This initialize database function will be getting the application directory where the files related to the application would be stored, and this will be joining the database name to that directory so that we can store the file directly there and the data as well. Next, we need to run this open database function which takes the path where the data or the database would be stored, the version for the database, if we are like releasing the database or making the database available in various versions, and it will be used for like running the onCreate function over here, which takes the database and the version, and we can execute a SQL query over here by running the db.execute and create table with the table name and having the 2 columns ID with their appropriate return types and the primary key and not null value as well. So this is pretty much it we have done till now. In the next video I'll be showing you how you can create the insert, update, delete, or like the query functions or the query operations, CRUD operations which are there in Flutter. So we'll be working on them or creating those things in the next video, so make sure to check that out as well. And this was pretty much it for this video. I have already summed up the things for you. So make sure to check that, make sure to have a look at them and go through the code once as well if you haven't gone through the code yet. And this was pretty much it for this video. Hope you got to learn something new from this video. If you did, then make sure to give it a thumbs up. Share this video with the people in your community who want to learn Flutter or who are aspiring to be a Flutter developer. Comment down your thoughts on what you have learned so far, and subscribe to the channel as well to get all the latest updates related to the Flutter development course. And I'll be more than grateful if you are doing these things as well. Make sure to share your thoughts as well with me on my social handles, the link to which should be given on my profile as well. And thank you for watching this video. I'll be seeing you in the next one.